we're going to roll right into another space that I've planned here. So we do have Theta Warrior actually up here on the space. We've never done a space together before, so excited to get you on. I have seen a bunch of your stuff on the timeline. The reason I reached out to Theta Warrior and also TrendSpider is Theta Warrior built a indicator that's now inside of TrendSpider, and I was curious about it. I started using it a little bit. I saw some posts about it. I wanted to learn more, and then also just wanted to have a chat with Theta Warrior as to their thoughts on the market, what they've been trading, different pieces. So that's how this is going to go about it. To my speakers, Theta Warrior and TrendSpider will be the main speakers on this space. But if any of you have questions, you can, of course, ask questions. We're going to keep it a little bit discussional, things around those lines. But without further ado, Theta Warrior, welcome to the space. Would love to give you a couple minutes here to introduce yourself and your background and give a little bit of color to people who are unfamiliar with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm a full-time options trader, student of the market. I love trading. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And TrendSpider was kind enough to give me the opportunity to work with them and come up with a new indicator that kind of combines a few different things that I look at in a goal to basically achieve, you know, a signal that would tell us, when the market may potentially be more ripe for a reversal. It's just based on a, mathematical formula. So pretty excited to have that in there, and all the TrendSpider users, enjoying it, and sending me DMs and stuff, and showing me different ways that they're using it. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, great to be here, and heck of a day to jump on and chat with you. And we got a lot to discuss, and definitely some crazy price action we saw today.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we before we go into that, can you just give I know you talked about the indicator there a little bit more, just to like your trading background, how you got into it, what you typically trade, stocks, options, different stuff, and then we can talk a little bit about today as well, which was an insane day.
Sure. So I originally, discovered the market just simply by investing, and owning stocks like Apple and Microsoft and stuff like that. And then I started to look into leverage, and really discovered that options is where I wanted to be. And I did a lot of study, and I read a lot of books on it, and I made a lot of mistakes, and I lost money in the beginning, and I had that trial and error period, paper traded for a long time. And then finally got, the knack of things, or, where I thought I could be competent in it. And I just started to kind of build upon that, and, found my system, found kind of what worked for me. And still making mistakes to this day, but trying to make less and less of them and trying to learn from them. So yeah, it's just kind of something that's evolved, and like I said, something I'm really passionate about, something I love to do. And yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's walk through a little bit. First, market analysis, then we could dive a little bit more into the actual indicator. So talk me through a little bit here, thoughts on where the market's been, where it's going. We just rejected off the 200-day on SPY. We've had this massive rally. A lot of people think that this has just been a lot of short covering. We are going to see further downside. I'm just curious what your approach is. And then accordingly, with such a rally going on, how have you been position sizing and approaching the market?
Sure. So I'll first clarify that I'm mostly a day trader. I will swing positions, usually around a couple days max. I'm not a position trader, not really a huge swing trader. That's kind of changed in this market. I used to be more in that way, but I've kind of transitioned my style because we've just had a lot of chop and a lot of back and forth. And I've found that it's more beneficial for me to be in cash by the close. So, market direction is not important to me. If it wants to go up, great. If it wants to go down, that's great too. I'll play either side. But certainly this rally, I think, has gone a lot further than most people expected. Like you said, we touched the 200-day almost to the penny today. Saw that massive sell program run through the market. That was pretty incredible. It's the old saying, things usually go further than people expected. So could we push a little bit further? Sure, why not? Would this be a good place, to start protecting gains and maybe look for a reversal? Yeah, I think that's probably wise as well. I think that the push above and I'm talking about SPY here, the push above 417 to 420, that was kind of the breakout move. So would it be crazy for us to pull back and retest that area? No, I think that that's probably likely in the cards. So really what I'm looking to see is what's going to happen when that event does occur. Are we going to see buyers that step in and defend that level, or are we going to push back below it, and be looking at a false breakout? Are the lows in for the year? I have no idea. When we were down there, in the 380, 370 range, it certainly didn't feel like it. It certainly felt like we could keep going a lot lower. And then sure enough, we bounced and, we've been ripping, ever since we kind of pushed above that psychological 400 level. So I just find that it's best for my style of trading to just take it day by day and just, take in the new information as it comes and, just see what the markets are going to give us.
Perfect. Let's talk a little bit about the indicator here. And also, I shout out Holmars and Hamid, who came up and joined us. Throughout this, if any of the speakers have questions, always feel free to just use that raise hand feature. I feel very lucky we were able to get you on here, Theta Warrior. And hopefully, those who have questions throughout should feel free to have the opportunity. And if you're in the audience and you're someone that I don't know, we don't bring up too many people that I don't know just because we get trolls, but you can always DM me. You can always use the Spaces chat. I'm constantly monitoring my Twitter, my DMs, everything along those lines. So it really shouldn't be a problem if you have a question that you want to get in here. All right, so let's take a look at the actual indicator here for a minute, and we can pull it up. You can tell me if there's something specific you want to pull it up on. If you want me to throw out a name, we could use Coinbase is something that we've been trading a good amount. And then I'm curious if you, with the settings, if there's anything that you fidget with, the settings, the time frame, maybe just walk me through the background of it.
Sure. So, like I said, it's a custom indicator, and it's kind of a blend of a few different things that I look at, and I've found success within trading in the market. And basically, its goal is to find reversal points. Because price is simply just a product of supply and demand. So when demand, starts to dry up, that's when you'll get a reversal to the downside, and conversely, when supply starts to dry up. So the indicator seeks to find those type of pivot points. I use it a lot on the 5-minute chart. The daily chart is a great one as well. 15-minute, those are mostly the time frames that I look at personally. I've seen other people have success with it on the 1 hour, but it works with equities. It works with crypto. It's just a mathematical formula. It doesn't matter what you're looking at. It should apply to basically everything. A really good example of a 5-minute is in Tesla today. When we were coming down to that low, we kind of, touched that 9-10 area when everything was looking like it was going to be selling off today. And the, perfect example of a good buy in indicator you can see popped up right there, and put you on the long side, which was almost about the lows. So of course it's not 100%. With any indicator, you need to use other forms of technical analysis to either, confirm or deny what you're seeing. But I find that, let's say I have a stock I'm trading and I'm looking at the 100 resistance level, and price is, visiting that area, and I get a sell signal right in that zone. That's kind of like a little added, conviction on the short side is kind of the way I look at it.
Perfect. Okay, so digging just into that Tesla one. So I have Tesla up on the 5-minute. The correct settings that I should have on for length is 9, lower -1.5, base is 0, and upper 1.5.
Yes, the standard settings are exactly how I use it myself. So the default.
Okay, perfect. So you're pointing out on the 5-minute chart going back to around that 10:30 a.m. EST slot, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so I noticed we have this green and red line that runs through the middle. I'm assuming that's price action, right? And the way that it's kind of been moving. And then there's these thinner green lines that stripe down, the ones that stripe up to the red side. Where does it show an initiation of a buy signal? What's that clear-cut indicator? And then what do these lines mean as they're getting shorter or longer for some people? And maybe that line that's also crossing through the middle.
Sure. So the histogram itself, or those bars that you'll see that start to build both to the upside and the downside, you can kind of think of those as like an extension. So once those bars start to get, either too far to the upside or too low to the downside, that's kind of like a price exhaustion type of signal. And then the red and green line that will move through it that kind of looks like a moving average, that's more of just a momentum indicator. And once those two come into line, so once you have a move that's extended to the downside, like we see here in Tesla on the histogram, and then you also have price that reverses, right? And that momentum then flips from red to green, that's what's going to trigger a true buy signal. Now, the nice thing about this indicator is you need both of those factors to come into play in order to give you either the buy or the sell signal. Now, the signal can work if both aren't coming together, but you have a much higher probability of success if you have both of those indicators on your side. And ultimately, that's how I look at trading. It's all just probabilities. Nothing's going to work 100% of the time, but there are certain instances where you do have a higher probability of success. So that's the whole goal of this indicator, is to try and eliminate some of those false signals that you might see, if you're just looking at one indicator by itself.
Got it. I think that Tesla example was really good. Would you mind running us through a few more?
Sure. Well, let's look at the daily, because I know not everyone's a day trader like myself. And sometimes it can help to look at the daily stuff.
There's a killer. There's a signal on Netflix. Sell signal on the daily.
That sounds like my man Jason. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, I'm over here. I'm just running scans over here to see if I can find anything, and that was the most interesting thing that I found.
Yes, the scanners. I'm glad you brought that up. I'll talk about that in a second. But this Netflix you just brought up is a beautiful example. So Netflix, after it tanked after that earnings, came up and made a high around 250, call it, and pulled back and had that big long consolidation, and now price has rebounded from the lows and it's testing that level again. So this is a known resistance area, and then you also have this sell signal that's now populated on the daily. For Netflix, you have that darker red bar on the histogram, and then you have the lighter shaded column that's also red. So that is when both signs are incongruent. So that is the true sell signal. So this is a great example. I'm glad you pointed that out. And the nice thing is about a setup like this, like let's say you're wrong, you just have to cut bait, as soon as it makes a new high, which it's right at that resistance level. So if you're wrong, you're going to know you're wrong quickly. That's another big thing I like to focus on my trading. If I'm wrong, I just go fast, get out, move on to the next trade. So this is definitely a good example here. And the scanners that Jason was just mentioning, we put together a custom scanner that you can implement it can look through your own watch list. It can look through the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, whatever you prefer to trade on any time frame. You can cue it into the 5-minute, the daily, 15, whatever, and it will look for these buy and sell signals for you throughout the day, because obviously we can't be watching all these tickers at one time, but you can make a quick little watch list with a scanner to hunt and search for them for you. So that's a really cool feature as well.
Yeah, I just got a question from the audience I want to answer, and then I have a follow-up question on what you just spoke about. So somebody asked, where are we looking? Where is this all happening? This is all inside of TrendSpider. It's what I use personally for my charting. I did a space with them earlier today. I believe Data Warrior uses them pretty regularly too. Looks like Omar's a fan of TrendSpider. He's throwing up some clapping hands. If anybody wants to try out TrendSpider and you want to use Data Warrior's tools, there is a free trial. And I went ahead and just made this super simple, and I just pinned it into the top of the space. And if you do end up deciding, hey, I like this, and you want to actually convert, there's a 35% discount code built into that link in the top of the space. So you can take a look. It's pinned up there. And then once you're in, what you're wanting to do is you want to go to indicators. And this is where you're going to pretty much find everything that you're throwing over. I think there's like 183 now indicators. And you'll just be able to type in TW, and TW is just going to be Theta Warrior, and then you'll just select TW Pivot, and it'll just be Theta Warrior Pivot, and that will allow you to add this, and then it'll come up on the bottom of your chart, kind of like where an RSI would come up, and you'll see these 3 parallel lines that will be running to the side, and then histogram over them with red and green lines either side, and line in the middle. So those are kind of where you can find it if you're looking for a place, if you want to follow along, as well as a free trial and nice discount code if you do decide to actually use this. Now, bringing it back for just a second, you were mentioning the scans. How would people go about doing a market scan using these criteria?
Okay, so I'm glad you clarified that it's on TrendSpider. And if anyone is not a TrendSpider user and wants to just see what the indicator looks like, you can go to my page. Basically, on all the charts that I've been sharing recently after the launch, you can see the indicator there along on the bottom, so you can at least understand what we're talking about while we're doing this spaces. So the scanner is available to any TrendSpider user. All they have to do is email hello@trendspider.com and just ask for the scanner, and they'll get it. So it's really, really easy.
Nice. That's helpful. Jason, do I have to send the email or can I just get it?
So you would have to get a link to it. I can definitely send you one. Let's see if I can. I can't really send it on this space, I don't think.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We can figure it out.
Let me. I'll send it to you, and then you can link it. Give me
So
one second.
let's talk for a second, Theta, about the short squeezes that we saw today. And does your tool, is that something that you use ever to identify any of these incoming squeezes or price action like we saw today?
Yeah, so that was really something. They were on a mission to hurt all of the shorts today, in any name they possibly could. That was truly incredible. I was watching BBBY, Bed Bath and Beyond, pretty closely today, and that was one of the best ones I saw. But this indicator is going to be more helpful for buying overextended dips or selling overextended rips. So this is not really something that's going to show you when a short squeeze is coming or necessarily when momentum is building, right, and something's about to happen. There's other great indicators for that type of stuff, but this one is more so for overextended reversals in both directions.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, that was a nice example there on Tesla and some of the others. I've been kind of clicking through and just throwing it over some. For example, one of the ones which looked interesting to me is Google, and I'd love it if you were able to pull up Google. One of the things I noticed is on the daily for Google, it doesn't seem to have that histogram for the last few days. I was wondering what kind of goes on there if it takes a few days to lay it out. Oh, Jason, you might need a mute. And then on the other side of that, it gave me like Google to me looks very bullish here, right? As base for a while, it's coming up the right side, coming towards year-to-date anchored VWAP, breaking through a different anchored VWAP from all-time highs, which I really like. There's some good spots here. However, it looks like it gave a sell signal, right? That red column. So how would I go about reading this?
Okay, so you're correct. Now, the signal has not been populated to show a sell signal on the daily, and that is simply because it has not registered that price is overextended in that direction yet. If you look back a couple of weeks to like May 2nd and then April 18th, those are going to be two buy signals that did populate. The first one doesn't look like that one worked, but certainly the May 2nd one, you had a couple of nice green days that followed that signal. So that's what you're going to be looking for in terms of a real, true signal. Once price does start to become extended to the upside, let's say if Google does continue higher, you'll start to see those red histogram bars continue to build to the upside. And then at a certain point, they'll turn a darker red color. And that's basically the indicator telling you like this is a warning signal, right? This is a saying that, price is starting to get up there. If we're long, maybe we should start to think about, protecting profits, not necessarily to get short right at that second, but, it's just more like a warning sign. And then if you do get a true reversal and price starts to pull back, you would likely see that column that populates and runs across the top to the bottom of the indicator itself, signifying the real, TW pivot sell signal.
Okay, got it. So that flip to the first red bar up is a bullish signal. And now it's giving me this red highlight. We're getting pretty overweight here. And then it's giving me that little green downward one, which is flip to bearish.
Correct. So the histogram will, kind of move back and forth occasionally, especially like in a choppy market. Now, this indicator works really, really well when you have a trend that's overextended to the downside or the upside. In a choppy market, you're going to get a lot of back and forth signals. That's just kind of the way that it's set up. So right now, what the histogram, what it's showing is like you're not overextended. It could certainly continue further, and it's showing you that the trend is indeed up because you have that line in the center that's flipped green. So it's showing you that indeed price is moving higher, which it is. It just follows the price action itself.
Okay, perfect. Hey, real quick, to those that are requesting, I see Caleb Carr and Sachin and Furkada. Just DM me first. Send me what your question is. If it's good, I'll bring you up. We just we gotta have a little bit of security here on the way up to the stage. I do want to hit some of the others on the panel. Omar, so you popped in to hang out. Are you a Theta Warrior fan?
Yeah, I just came in to listen. You have such great spaces sometimes. I just want to listen. So I don't really have anything to say on this subject. I'm not a day trader, obviously, but I do find it really interesting to listen.
Awesome, man. Well, you're always welcome on any of my spaces. Appreciate you being on and listening. Hopefully, I'm doing a good job with the questions here, and he's doing a good job with the answers, and we're keeping it entertaining. And by the way, if you're in here, one of the 500 people that are in here, we've been going all day, and we have to have some great speakers on. And I really do appreciate Theta Warrior joining. If you're not already following him, definitely go ahead, throw him the follow. I'm following. I see his stuff on my timeline. It's really nice. The charts are super simple to read, which is super helpful. And usually he'll put on like a nice and easy title as well to accompany them. So I recommend just going ahead, throwing him the follow if you haven't already. And of course, the other speakers that are up here are great too. And then TrendSpider's always doing spaces with me. We already co-hosted for an hour today where we did a bunch of charting. It was great. And then someone asked where they can find the discount code. It's built into the link up top. So that discount code is also in my bio. It's just built into the link up top. And then if you want the specific scanners for Theta Warrior, you got to email TrendSpider for those, asking for the scanners. But the actual indicator is just built right into the app under indicators, TW Pivot. So hopefully that's helpful. All right, TSDR.
Hey, I'm in my car, so hopefully does this sound okay right now?
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. Hey, Theta, big fan. Stock Talk Weekly talks in high regard about you. I've never gotten to meet you, but nice to meet you, man. Love what you do. My question is really quick. Have you ever heard of a professional trader named Chris Cady, Cady? And if not, I would recommend just listening to an interview of his on Chat with Traders podcast, or some of his YouTube interviews with some people. Very similar trading style, and he's someone I also hold in high regard and love listening to everything he says. But very very similar structure between the two of you. Chris Cady was his name.
Well, awesome. Thank you for the recommendation. I'm not familiar with that gentleman, but I'll look him up. And thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate that.
Sweet. Hamid, I saw you came up as well. Did you have any questions or thoughts you wanted to throw Theta Warriors way?
I'm a lot like Mars. I'm a long-term investor, not a day trader, but I'm finding the conversation super fascinating. I think it's super interesting the way the decision-making indicators that are not fundamentals based that triggers a trade. So I'm just learning and observing. Thanks, Wolf. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. All right, so I want to pull back to BBBY for a second here, Theta Warrior, because your indicator kind of nails it, right? It flips to bullish on July 29th, and that's pretty much the start of this move as it's rounding its way up the right side, and then it's continuing, and then today is where it really highlights, hey, we're in overbought territory. Is that kind of the way that someone would play it? And my question is, if you have this, you look at your indicator and you go, all right, well, my indicator is telling me that this is going up. Do you then go to is there a second indicator or source or something that you use for additional confirmation? Or would you look like a play like this on BBBY or something and be like, hey, listen, like it flipped. We're starting to make a move up. We we broke through the recent highs on July 22nd and July 20th and those areas. And I'm in and we're rolling and we got volume. Just like, what's the process once you find the one that's flipped?
Sure. So when I first started out trading, I would basically be looking for any reason to get into a trade, right? I'd always want to have a position on. I think that's just natural. But as the years have gone by and I've found, that not every trade is going to work, I find that my strategies become much more discerning. So I'll now start to look for reasons why I shouldn't get into a trade. So what I'm looking for is multiple confirmations, both in technical analysis and the flow. Those are the two main proponents that I use to determine whether I'm going to get into a trade or not. And then the third being sentiment, right? I want to understand the overall sentiment of the market. I have every respect for fundamental analysis people, and I know that you can do very well with that, but it's not my personal style. I simply just make trades based off of the price action that I see and what I'm observing in the options market. So when I see, a buy signal that populates in the pivot, I'm also going to confirm that things are lined up in the flow, that the sentiment, I'm going to be on the right side. And of course, I have some other indicators that I use. I look at, simple moving averages, volume profile, things like that. But at the end of the day, I find that, of course, price is going to be the most important. I'm a big believer that, just be dumb, follow price. If the market wants to go higher, great. Let's ride the train, So the more things that I can have lined up in my favor, I find that that's going to be the higher probability trade. So I'm always looking for, multiple forms of confirmation.
How would you read a chart or your indicator? Let pull it up if you have a second on Wayfair, ticker symbol W on the daily. If you look back at like the last 5 days, it's green, red, slightly higher red, green, red, slightly higher red. Is this just chop? Would you just like completely discard it? Not it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, this is just a choppy. It's certainly not the signal giving you a strong conviction buy or sell. That's exactly what that's showing. Just chop.
Okay, got it. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we can maybe go through a couple of these other ones here, but I liked a little bit what you said on with volume and with price. So speaking to price, are there other things on your charts often like VWAPs? I know that's something popular. A lot of people in TrendSpider are using. Are there classic SMAs out there? And then maybe if you could speak a little bit as well to where volume plays in.
Sure, of course. And I have another good example we can look at in a minute on the daily that shows the pivot really well. So I'm looking at the moving averages. I prefer simple over exponential, but of course, if you prefer exponential, nothing wrong with using that. I like simple because it gives an equal weight to the volume. So I'll look at the 8, the 21, the 50, the 100, and the 200, because they all signify different things, whether they're going to be in a short-term trend or a long-term trend. So I like to have all of those up and I'm watching. The MACD, it's somewhat of a lagging indicator in my mind, although it can be beneficial because, I know a lot of people look at it and, when you get that MACD cross, that can definitely, trigger some momentum to start to kick in. So I'll look at that one as well. But I try not to have my charts too busy. I don't want to have too many things, clogging my vision essentially, because like I said, volume, of course, price, of course, is going to be the most important thing. And then probably volume right after that. So, during a consolidation phase, and that's another thing I should clarify, I'm a big, breakout or breakdown trader. I love a move from a consolidation, whether it be to the downside or the upside. So when things get quiet and volatility starts to compress, that's when I start to get excited. And that's when I start to think about, which direction this breakout may occur. So a lot of my trades, I have them set up to be, okay, I'm going to look for a long if above this area. I'm going to look for a short if below this area. So that way, I'm potentially taking a trade no matter what happens. Because I think that you have to have an open mind and be ready for anything, because things can change so quickly in the market. You don't want to be thinking 100% this has to be a bullish formation and I'm only looking for calls to the upside if that happens. Well, what if you're wrong? And what if it's a false breakout and you're missing, an opportunity to the downside? So I always like to, try and look at both sides of the coin. On my lower time frame charts, VWAP is a huge one. I really like VWAP. That it's amazing to me how well price can respect VWAP sometimes. So I definitely look at that. And then, with the lower time frame stuff, I try not to keep it too, clogged up. I'll just basically have price and VWAP. Looking at, my support and resistance levels. I map all of that out the day before so that I can come in to the trading day, with a game plan. I know exactly what I want to do if something happens, whether it be to the upside or the downside, and trying to eliminate, any emotional response or any, just, on a whim type of trades and, plan everything out ahead of time. So I'll have all of my levels and everything ready to go. And yeah, do it like that. But I wanted to mention to you, GLD is a good example. If you want to pull that up on the daily, just to quickly just show how the pivot works. So GLD on the daily, when it kind of lost that 167 and change level, and we got a big flush lower to the downside towards, 158 and change. the indicator was telling you that, price was overextended to the downside. And as soon as we started to reverse, that's when it populated that buy signal. And that's signified, it looks like it was on July 19th. And you got that nice green column, and that's your buy signal right there. And you can see it nailed it. This is a good case where the indicator did work. And then you started to get these red histogram bars that were building to the upside. But you'll notice that even on that last red histogram bar, you did not get that, column that would usually show you that it's a sell signal. So in this case, price was telling you that, yes, it is extended, but it's not confirming both indicators are in line. So you would basically look at this indicator and think, okay, I should probably be protecting profits, but not getting short. So, and in this case, that was actually the correct, signal, because we pulled back for about a day, but then, continued higher and, pushed up another $5 to $10 or so. So that's a good example of when the indicator is not confirmed 100%, to the downside on that last, potential sell signal.
Got it. Perfect. I definitely want to do a few more charts afterwards as well. If you haven't watched this, we can go through a couple more. Real quick, somebody DM'd, thought this was kind of funny. They said, "Please let the group know that Theta Warrior swag is badass." So I assume you sell some swag.
Yes, that's awesome. Whoever sent that, thank you very much. That's great. I wear it all the time. If you ever see me in public, I'll probably be wearing it. We make shirts and hats and bags and coffee mugs and fun things like that. They're all on the website.
I'm assuming theta coming from the theta within the options, and maybe fighting or not fighting it is kind of how the warrior part comes in. Can you walk a little bit through how you approach option trading with more of the Greeks? Because I just asked because it's in the name.
Yes. I'm glad you asked that. So you're 100% correct. I'm mostly on the buy side, so I'm usually long, and I'm always, of course, fighting theta in that case. So the way I kind of approach trading is, that I want to only be in a position for as long as I need to be and no longer. I don't really want to be early, and I don't really want to be in longer than I should be. So I'd kind of rather show up a little late to the party and catch 70-80% of the move if I can. Great. Instead of being early and waiting and theta is just decaying my position, I'm losing money. I have no interest in doing that. So I studied the Greeks pretty extensively when I was first learning to trade, because I thought that it was really interesting that these, basically the four main Greeks, right, are going to determine, what an option pricing is. So I just found that fascinating, and I really identified, of course, with delta. I mean, every trader has to understand how delta works, but with theta, I just always thought, like, man, that's the one that'll really get you if you're not careful. So I kind of found myself, as a warrior against theta, as a warrior against premium decay. For anyone that's not a options trader, theta is always working against you when you're long premium, and every option contract has a expiration date where it will be at zero. The extrinsic value will be at zero, and it will only be worth its intrinsic value, which is the amount that it is in the money. So if you have a 45 call, the stock closes at 50, you have $5 of intrinsic value. Now, before expiration, that 45 call, if the stock is at 50, might be worth $6, because you still have $1 of that extrinsic value, or known as premium. So that's what theta is always decaying. That $1 of extra premium will be worth nothing basically at expiration. So yeah, you're spot on. That's exactly why I labeled myself the Theta Warrior.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Steve Chittum, you requested to speak. Did you have a question for Theta Warrior? Or did you? Yep, there you go.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be a speaker.
All right. No worries. Okay. If anybody in the crowd does want to ask, you have 25 minutes. Again, this is the first space that we're doing with Theta Warrior, and we're happy to always take questions from the audience. And if you do want to check out the indicator that we're discussing or the charting that we're discussing, there is a pinned tweet in the top of the space that you can pop off to there. And then I'm sure Theta Warrior also, I believe, has his own, website, which is linked inside of his bio. It's thetawarriorpro.com. So you can go in there as well. And that his pinned tweet covers his elite membership. All right. I see some hands up. Let's go TSDR.
Hey, I could ask hundreds of questions. How do you manage stop losses? Do you primarily rely on a sell signal from the indicator, or is it percentage based price? I mean, obviously the indicator is based off price action. Just curious about that, I guess.
Sure. So a stop is, of course, something personal to each trader, and we can all approach it differently. I'm a believer in using a stop instead of investing it, because I've looked at the math, and basically, just a really quick analogy. If you have a $10,000 position, say with a 20% stop, you're risking $2,000. So the person that doesn't use a stop would just invest, that $2,000 worth. So on the downside, we're both risking the same amount of money, but if we're correct, the $10,000 position is obviously going to gain a lot more than a $2,000 position. So that's kind of why I believe in using stops personally. The way that I will implement a stop is basically like, let's say I'm buying a breakout over $100, and my next support level is below that 99 and a half or 99. So if price does fail to hold above that level and pulls back below 99 and a half, 99, that's when I'll look to exit the trade. And you can use, the Black-Scholes method or model, I'm sorry, for, determining what an option contract is going to be worth at a said level in time. Or Thinkorswim is the platform, the brokers that I use. They actually have it built in. So let's say you buy a contract at $1, you can, move your stop down, let's say to, 75 cents, and it will tell you where, the price of the underlying is going to be in order for that to trigger. So I can basically determine, how wide my stop needs to be based on where the level is that I have in my chart that I need to exit the trade if I'm wrong. So that's how I do it, because I'm a technical trader. If you want to just put a 20% stop on, or 30%, whatever it may be, like, that's perfectly fine. I have the luxury of, watching price every day, and I can make a pretty good decision about when I need to be out of something. I understand that not everyone can do that. But another really big thing is I will move a stop, if I'm correct, I'm on the right side, in order to protect profits. So many times I'll see traders be up, 50, 80, 100% or something, and then something crazy happens in the market. They get a reversal and they're back down to unch, or, up 10, 20%. That should never happen. A trail stop is a really good way to protect gains and also have your stop move along with price. Or you can, of course, just push a standard stop. So let's say I'm buying a breakout over $100, and price breaks out and it starts to form a consolidation at 102. And then we start to push higher from that. So then my stop moves from just below 100 to just below 102. So I'm going to take the stop if that next little consolidation is unable to hold. So I'm consistently locking in profits and, moving a stop along the way, because I have no idea where the top is going to be. And I just, want to make sure to be green on the trade. If I'm green at all during the trade, I want to make sure to end that way as well.
Some great points. TSR, any follow-up?
Love it. It's pretty much exactly what I do. I love it. So I guess a follow. How does the would then, okay, so say you get a little bit of a buy signal with your indicators, start seeing that it is giving that sort of signal, then that's when you go into like a typical day trader type thing, looking for like that $100 break, comes back to 99.5 and doesn't hold that. Obviously the setup is invalidated. That indicator broadly wouldn't be giving a sell signal. It just wouldn't the buy signal wouldn't be confirming with the price action breakout. Correct? If I'm reading that right?
Yes, you're right. And the indicator does have somewhat of a stop out kind of feature built into it. So in the example that we're looking at on GLD, I know not everyone is looking at it at home, but in the example of GLD, you have this line that flipped from red to green as the histogram bars reach that extended move. So that's your buy signal. If, say, price were to reverse back lower, that green line would then actually flip back to red. So that's showing you that, the signal was likely incorrect and that you should probably look to exit the trade. Another really simple way to look at it is, okay, if you're going to buy a low at, $90, if price breaks down through that low, then, you should probably get out because it's making a new low. So that's kind of how I approach it.
Awesome. Hamid?
Yeah, thanks, Wolf. Data Warrior, I was curious if you have any long-term positions, or do you use a separate account for long-term positions where you are more excited about certain companies that you want to hold on to for years time frame as opposed to days or hours?
Yes, of course. So I'm bullish on the market long term. I've been investing for a long time. I own Apple, Microsoft, AMD, Nvidia, Amazon. All the big players. I've got some dividend stocks as well: J&J, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, things like that. That I'll never sell. That I'll just look to be a buyer of dips. And to be truthful, I added a little bit of Amazon this year, but I haven't really done much more buying yet. I was kind of expecting things to kind of revisit the lows again. Hopefully, I'll get an opportunity to buy some more this year because I think that there are some great companies out there at a big discount. And I'm a big tech trader, so I look at tech and I understand tech, and I'm very bullish on tech over the long run. So I have a large portion of my portfolio dedicated to tech, especially the semiconductor industry. I think it's fascinating. And I think semiconductors are just going to continue to be more and more important as time goes on in our society as we grow more and more technologically inclined. So yeah, there's definitely some great companies out there I think that are worth owning, and having them in a separate portfolio. I'm glad you mentioned that too. It really helps me separate. Okay, this is money just for day trading. This is money for investing. So I have two different P&Ls that I'm looking at every day. And separating them definitely was a smart move, I believe, because it helps me compartmentalize them both.
Do you have like a percentage of your portfolio that's more on the option side versus the long-term side that you're comfortable risking on a day-to-day basis or on day trading and options? I'm kind of curious, like, what is that percentage? If you're willing to share, that would be sort of interesting information.
Sure.
To learn.
So I have a max drawdown of 1% to 2% on my options portfolio a day. That's it. Usually I try and stay 1% or below. So with the proper position sizing and with my proper stop loss, I can achieve that. I have the majority of my money in the longer term portfolio because at a certain point you don't need a huge amount to trade with options. Of course you need cash, but you get to a certain level where enough is enough. So the majority of my money I do have just in long-term stocks, long-term portfolio.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Hamid. Elvie?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so I have a question for Theta. I'm new to options, so I've been testing now with an account, just a little $500 account, and I've been able to grow it to around 850 max. But lately, I've been in a rut where when I get into an option contract, I find that I'm already losing more than I can anticipate. So I was just wondering, for example, let's say a stock hits a level where I'm comfortable taking a call or an option. Would you recommend waiting for further confirmation or just playing the bounce on stock like that, on the option play like that?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that you always want to calculate your risk before you calculate your potential gain. I think that it's important to understand where your risk is first, so you figure out where you need to get out if things move against you. And if that happens, just do it, unemotionally. And it depends on the situation. These levels that I use, trigger levels, some people call them, they're not just blanket. Okay, if this happens, I'm going to be a buyer. This happens, I'm going to be a seller. You definitely want to use some other form of confirmation, whether it be looking at the flow or looking at what the SPY is doing. Looking at what the put call ratio is telling you. So there's all different types of things you can use for confirmation. And like I said earlier, the more you have on your side, that's just going to increase your probability of success. You can have an 80% probability of being successful and still lose money. So that happens. I mean, that's why no one's ever going to have a perfect track record. So you have to be able to take a loss and move on and just try and keep them as small as possible when that does happen.
Yeah, just one more thing. When I get into a play, I would find myself being up maybe 20, 30%. But then I have like a profit taking target price. Would you think that'd be foolish to wait for that profit taking price if the trend is not against you? I mean, if the trend is not with you, would it be just like foolish to let it just to hold on to it and let it just go down, and you're back at break even, they're potentially going down, then but it doesn't hit your stop loss?
Sure. So, I mean, in a perfect world, the profit percentage target is a great way to look at things. Maybe you trim some when you're up 20%, you have another trim at 50%, another 80%, whatever you want to make those percentages. But, unfortunately, trading doesn't work in a perfect world. So sometimes you might have a position be up 20%, and that's all you get. So I will generally move my stop up as I'm trimming. So in this market, I'll be honest with you, I'm taking profits at 10%, 15%, 20%, great. And I'm moving up my stop just because things have been so volatile and choppy. And basically what I'm getting at is, let's say you're in a position, you're up 20%, put your stop up closer to break even, maybe even a little bit green in the money. And then, let's say you're up 40%, your stop should definitely be somewhere in the green. Depending on how many contracts you're trading, you can definitely trim some along the way as well to kind of lock in some profits and also de-risk a little bit as well. So it's kind of like a balance you kind of have to play with and figure out, what you're most comfortable with. And another thing is every stock is going to be different. Not every ticker is going to be up, 100% on an options contract a day. Some of these tickers move a little slower than the others. They all kind of have their own personality. So it's just something you kind of have to play around with over time. But you can definitely get a feel for it with experience.
All right, thank you for the advice, man. I'll definitely input those tips.
That was a great question and really good answer. And I think, LV, a lot of people are in that boat. I'm going to just go out on a limb and put that out there. A ton of people, especially those that are, because nowadays more than ever, people are following others into option trades, right? So people are in Discord, they're in other stuff, and they get that alert, and the play's already up, $10, $20, $30 per contract, but they still, say, oh, it looks good, I'm comfortable getting in. They get in. Next thing you know, drops off the entry. Right now, you're down 5-10% immediately, and then it's just a struggle snuggle game, right? As you play the mental game of, was I actually confident in this level, right? So I think Theta made some great points as to actually judging, your risk comfortability and other pieces before you get in, because those are really going to matter, especially when it starts going down. All right, let's pop it over to yes, sir. Did you have a question for Theta?
Hello, everyone. Actually, I didn't have a question, but I was thinking if you invest in something that you believe in, actually, and the thing is in this world now, we have been a while.
I am just we do have limited time. We actually only have about 10 minutes, so I'm going to keep it mostly to questions for Theta Warrior. And if it's a different point, I'm happy my DMs are open, and you can always shoot me a DM. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. All right, Ollie, what's going on?
Hey, well, thanks for this space as always. My question is, can you expand a little bit on the difference between the Elite and Elite Alpha package? Which package is actually better for someone's trading as, the side hustle? And my second question is that where the entries are posted and how soon they are posted, for people to have some idea and follow. Thank you.
I believe you're talking about the TrendSpider packages. So the Elite is what I use. I can't remember the name of the other one. I'm sure Jason knows that's above that. But I believe that it just allows you to have more alerts and give your alerts more time. Jason could probably speak to that better than I do. But to answer your second part of your question, if you're referring to the trade alerts that I provide with the Elite, we have a bot that sends out, as soon as I get into a position, it sends out the alert to the Twitter and to the Discord, and we're getting them out in less than a second. So the goal, of course, is to get, the information to the members as quickly as possible, because as we know, options can move really, really quickly. So yeah, I believe that's the question that you were asking.
So they're posted on Twitter, not on the Discord, right?
My alerts that I provide for the elite are on Twitter and Discord, both simultaneously, because we have people that, prefer one or the other, or maybe they can use one at work or whatnot. So we have a really great Discord community, over 1,000 members, and we have a trading pit that's very active, that I'm very active in myself throughout the day, kind of providing color and commentary about what I'm looking at. That's another thing I use the Discord for, is I'll try and give everyone a heads up, what my plan is, what my thinking is right before I get into a trade. Because, once you do get a break in one direction or the other, like I said, things can move pretty quickly. So I try and give everyone a heads up as much as I can.
Thank you. Good questions there, Ollie. Appreciate you. And I know you're a big supporter of our spaces. So thanks for coming on up and being a part of this. I had another speaker that was up here. I do not see them, so I'm just going to keep it rolling and bring up Enrique. Enrique, looks like we do have you up here. Do you have a question for Theta?
Yeah, just real quick. I'm also starting into options, and I'm about to sign up for Initial Wells, but then I just checked out your Transpire, and it looks pretty cool. So I'm just asking, is there a difference between Initial Wells and Transpire? Because it seems like they do offer pretty much similar stuff, other than the high volumes that the big wells are doing. What's your take on that? I'm just beginning to I'm starting to trade, so I just want to know, what would you recommend?
Sure. So welcome to the space. It's a wonderful community to be a part of. So TrendSpider is going to be a platform used for technical analysis. So you're going to get all the chart and data information. They'll also have all of the unusual options activity as well. And there's all different types of programs that they're working on, like different seasonality studies, different scanners and alerts. And they're also integrating this new bot feature, which is really cool. Maybe more geared towards an intermediate to advanced trader, but essentially you can create a bot to, either signal you or actually trade yourself. You can actually connect your brokerage to this and have it trading for you, which is pretty amazing. So I love TrendSpider because, they're kind of like a one-stop shop for, both technical analysis, and they have some flow information as well. And overall, I think it's a very strong platform.
I'll back that up for sure. And again, for anyone who's tested out, I don't know if Theta has links in his bio for it. I know I do. There's a link pinned into the top of this space. If you're on mobile, you can see pinned tweets. It's also got a pretty massive discount, and if you use the discount, I think it's like $20 a month for TrendSpider. It's very affordable, especially if you're someone that's trading actively. All right, Elvi, is your hand back up?
Yeah, just real quick. I think someone mentioned earlier about there's a platform where it shows you what would be your risk to reward ratio, and if an option moves a certain way. Could someone mention what platform that was again?
I'm not sure which one you're referring to particularly, but you can figure out risk reward, just with an Excel sheet. If you're risking $1,000 on a trade, and you're looking to, take profits at $4,000, say, or, then you can calculate what your risk is going to be. Let's say your overall position is, $10,000. So you're risking 10% in order to make, 400% on your initial risk. So it's a really easy calculation.
No, I was referring to, let's say you get into an option contract at a certain price, and let's say how much percentage you'll be up or down if it were to drop below that price.
Swim, right?
Oh, Thinkorswim.
It's like theoretical. It sounds like he's talking about theoretical value.
Yeah. So Thinkorswim will show you the estimated price that your stop will be executed at. They use the Black-Scholes model. You can Google that. I think Scholes is spelled Scholes model. But yeah, Thinkorswim will do that for you. You can pull that up on the options chain.
All right, thank you, man. I appreciate that information.
Glad it was helpful. Trader D.
Hey, Dita, this is Trader D. Thank you for taking my question. I'm particularly a beneficiary of your flow, especially where you highlight the big whale trades. So you mentioned about that you like to enter the stocks after the consolidation as you're interested in catching a part of a move for calls as well as puts. I was wondering if you have any other stock screening method just to kind of, which can catch your eyes before you enter.
So I'm a bit old school in that I do most of my screening manually and visually. I have a curated watch list that I've built over the years of particular stocks that are both volatile and liquid. Those are going to be the two most important things to me as a trader. And I'll go through them every night, sometimes multiple times a day, to find things that interest me. But if you're looking for, good setups, good stocks to trade, you can just simply look by, what has the highest volume in the NASDAQ. Usually tech is going to be a good liquid, volatile name to play. AMD, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, all of those are super liquid. You can get in and out really easily. But TrendSpider makes it really easy that you can set up scanners as well. And I've been playing around with those a lot more, and especially now that we have the TW pivot scanners, that definitely makes my life a lot easier.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left on the space with Theta Warrior. Just a heads up for everyone, the next space we're going to be doing, we're going to chat some real estate. So if you're interested in that industry, should be upcoming. Waiting on some of the speakers, though, so we still look like we have some time on here. I did bring up another requester, and that is going to be William Truxell. William, do you have a question?
This is more just like an appreciation. Just shout out to Theta. I've watched some of your trades over the past year, and jumped into the Discord and stuff. And what my takeaway is, just kind of following what you do, is just the most important thing really is just the discipline that you have and that you instill. And I'm somebody who admittedly has lost quite a bit, but what I'm learning, the discipline, the stop losses, I think that's more important than, basically just appreciation. Thank you very much.
Man, thank you so much. I really appreciate you saying that. And that's great. If there's one takeaway that I could instill upon you or anyone would hopefully be that you have to be disciplined and that you have to understand where your risk is. I was really lucky, and I had some great mentors when I was learning, coming up, and retired Wall Street guys. And I found that every single one of them was laser focused on risk. That was always the first thing that they truly understood. And that's what allowed them to stay alive, because anybody can get lucky and make money in the market, a couple times. But in order to do it consistently, you really have to understand where your risk is and be disciplined enough to, honor where your stop is going to be. So I appreciate you saying that. That's an awesome comment. Thank you.
Expand too, I appreciate the entries and targets. And then, just to have some confidence during the day, if we shout out and say NOD, please, or something like that, man, it just really helps us, be able to focus and I guess not get shaken out. So thanks again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. It's great to have you in the community. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Sweet. And I think we'll take maybe one more question here. We had Love Doge Vader. Did you have a question? I see them I can't tell if you're muted or unmuted, so I'm going to give it about 10 seconds, and yeah, they re-muted. Okay. I don't know if we're going from there. Oh, hello. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys thank you so much for speaking up here about everything and giving us all that knowledge. It's really nice of you guys.
Our pleasure. All right. I think that's a perfect way to cap this last space. Theta Warrior. I'd say this was a raging success, wouldn't you?
I would agree full-heartedly. This was awesome.
Love it. Well, I do spaces all the time. Would love to have you on for another. This is actually our number 8 in a row on Spaces today. So we've been having a really fun day. We did the whole market day, and we're doing some after hours now. So really been enjoying it. And we'd love to have you back on again. For anybody that wants to follow along what you're doing, is the best place for them to do that at the link in your bio?
Yes. So my public Twitter is just Theta Warrior. And then, of course, if you want to become a member of the Elite, there's information there in the bio that you can follow along to the website. But I just wanted to say thank you, Wolf, for hosting this. And you're a machine. I don't know how you do so many of these throughout the day, but obviously you do a great job of it. And the community is very grateful to have you. So thank you for having me on, and certainly open to doing this again. This was a lot of fun. And thank you for everyone for tuning in and listening and asking questions. And I feel the love. So that's great. So thank you all.
Love to see it. Have a great rest of your evening.
Okay, you as well. Take care, guys.
Awesome.